Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're heading deep into ancient Egypt, specifically the Valley of the Kings, the main burial ground for pharaohs in the New Kingdom. Our goal really is to understand why this place became so vital and what it tells us.
Exactly, and we're talking about the west bank of the Nile, opposite Luxor, what was ancient Thebes.
Right.
The locals even call it Wadi el-Muluk, or Biban el-Muluk,
Which means?
Valley of the Gates of the Kings. Pretty evocative. And it was used for, well, roughly 5 centuries, from about 1550 down to Hexen 77 BCE. Pharaohs, some queens, high officials.
Okay, so why Thebes? Why move everything there?
Well, Thebes became the capital after they kicked out the Hyksos invaders, so power shifted south.
Ah, okay. Makes sense. Close to the action administrative centers, big temples like Karnak.
Precisely. And the valley itself had this mix of practical security and deep religious meaning.
How so?
Geographically, it's dominated by this peak, El-Qurn.
The peak. Yeah.
And it looks remarkably like a pyramid, so maybe a deliberate link back to the older burial traditions.
Interesting. And it was hidden, right, tucked away.
Very much so. Plus, you had the Medjay, sort of desert police, guarding it. And crucially, the West Bank itself.
Associated with the sunset, with death.
Yeah, the land of the dead in their cosmology.
Right.
A place of transition. Even the cliffs, some say, look like the Akhet hieroglyph.
The horizon symbol for rebirth.
That's the idea. And they believed a goddess, Merit Sager, she who loves silence, watched over it.
Wow. So much symbolism packed in. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site now, since '79.
Deservedly so. It's fundamental for understanding their religion, art, funerary beliefs. I mean, just think about Tutankhamun.
Right. Howard Carter, 1922. That discovery was massive, wasn't it? Even though Tut was a relatively minor king.
But his tomb, KB62, was almost completely intact. It just gave us this unparalleled, stunning glimpse into royal burial wealth and practice.
And finding it really highlighted this shift, didn't it? Moving away from the massive, obvious pyramids.
Absolutely. A huge shift starting in the 18th dynasty. Pyramids were just too vulnerable to tomb robbers.
So they went underground. Secretive. These hypogea.
Yes, deep underground tombs. It wasn't just security, though. It also seems to tie into evolving beliefs about the king's journey through the Duat, the underworld, to be reborn each morning. More personal, perhaps.
Yet around the same time, you start seeing these separate temples being built. The temples of millions of years.
Correct. Those weren't the tombs themselves. The tomb was secret.
Okay.
These temples, often closer to the Nile, like the Ramesseum or Medinet Habu, they were public monuments, places for the king's mortuary cult, for festivals.
Like the beautiful Feast of the Valley.
Exactly, ensuring the king's divine status lived on, publicly. 2 separate functions. Secret burial, public worship.
Got it. Now, the tomb designs themselves inside the valley, they changed too.
They did. The earlier tombs often had this bent axis, kind of a curved layout, maybe mimicking underworld paths. Later tombs, especially in the Ramesside period, tend to have a much straighter axis, maybe practical reasons, easier quarrying, or perhaps evolving ideas again.
And the decoration inside. Just incredible. Not just art for art's sake, I assume.
Oh, definitely not. They were absolutely essential, functional. Think of them as guidebooks for the afterlife.
It's like the Book of the Dead.
Exactly. Spells, maps, instructions to navigate the dangers of the underworld and achieve rebirth. You also see other funerary texts, like the Amduat or the Book of Gates, and those astronomical ceilings.
In tombs like Seti I or Ramses II.
Yeah, linking the pharaoh's fate directly to the eternal cycles of the cosmos. Really profound stuff.
But despite the secrecy, the robbing didn't stop, did it? Especially later on.
Sadly, no. Towards the end of the New Kingdom, maybe the 20th dynasty, central authority weakened. There were internal problems, economic stress.
That the tombs became targets again.
Big targets. We actually have records, like the Abbott Papyrus, detailing investigations into tomb robberies. It was a serious issue.
Which leads to that, frankly, amazing story of the priests moving the mummies.
It really is incredible. To protect the royal bodies from complete desecration, priests gathered dozens of pharaohs, Seti I, Ramses II.
Wow. And reburied them in secret caches. The 2 big ones we know are the Deir el-Bahari cache, DB320, and a secondary cache inside the tomb of Amenhotep II, KV35.
Kind of desperate act of preservation.
Absolutely. And it's largely thanks to them that we have the remains of so many famous pharaohs today.
And then, much later, you get the era of modern exploration. People like Lepsius, Belzoni,
Right.
and of course Carter.
Right. rediscovering and documenting the tombs. And that work continues today with projects like the Theban Mapping Project, using modern tech to survey, map, and help conserve the valley.
So just to recap, we've seen the valley chosen for its location and symbolism, the shift from pyramids, the evolution of tomb design,
The crucial role of the decorations, the function of those separate mortuary temples.
then the problem of looting, the dramatic mummy rescues, and the ongoing exploration.
Yeah, it covers a vast sweep of history and belief. What stands out, I think, is how that profound ancient Egyptian desire for eternal life, for remembrance, didn't just shape this physical landscape.
Right, the tombs, the temples. But it continues to shape how we understand their entire civilization thousands of years later.
It's powerful. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? With all that's been found, what secrets might still be lying hidden under those sands, waiting to be discovered?
You never know.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.